Hello student, Jai Bharat. In this chapter, that is work, energy and power, today we are going to discuss the last concept of the chapter, that is collision. Students, concentrate. Article number 6.12. In physics we study motion, that is change in position. At the same time, we try to discover the physical quantities which do not change in a physical process. For example, the laws of momentum and energy conservation are typical examples. So, if certain conditions are obeyed, then the momentum before the process is equal to total momentum after the process. Exactly in the similar manner, the total energy of an isolated system always remains constant. So, the law of conservation of momentum and the energy are the example of this case. In this section, we shall apply these laws to a commonly encountered phenomena, namely collisions. Several games such as billiards, marbles, or carom involves collisions. We shall study the collision of two masses in an idealized form. Okay, student. So, consider two masses m1 and m2. Particle m1 is moving with velocity or with speed v subscript 1i. v subscript 1i. The subscript I implies initial. We can consider m2 to be at rest. So, no loss of generality is involved in making such a selection. So, if you can consider one of the particle to be at rest, then there is no problem in this. In this situation, the mass m1 collides with stationary mass m2, and that is depicted in the figure. So let me show you the figure, student. Here this is mass m1, this is mass m2 which is at rest. So mass m1 is moving with velocity vector v1i vector, and after the collision, suppose the particle of mass m1 and mass m2 are moving with velocity v1f and v2f respectively, making angle theta 1 and theta 2 with x-axis respectively as shown in the figure. The masses m1 and m2 fly off in different directions. We shall see that there are relationships which connect the masses and velocities and the angles. Students, in the problem of collision, normally the velocity before the collision and masses of the colliding bodies are known. The unknown quantities are the velocity after the collision and the direction in which they are flying off. So, if we can find out the unknown quantities in terms of the known quantities, then it will be better by making use of law of conservation of momentum and law of conservation of energy. Okay, student. So, first we shall talk about elastic and inelastic collision. Later on, we will also discuss its special cases. In all the collision, whether there are elastic or inelastic, the total linear momentum is conserved. Student, law of conservation of momentum is universal and fundamental. So, total momentum before the process must be equal to total momentum after the process. So, whether the collision is elastic or inelastic, the momentum is always conserved. Initial momentum of the system is equal to the final momentum of the system. One can argue this as follows. When two objects collide, the mutual impulsive forces acting over the collision time delta t cause a change in their respective momenta. Okay, students, let me repeat. When two objects collide, mutual impulsive forces acting over the collision time delta t causes a change in the respective momenta, and that is equal to delta p1 vector is equal to f12 vector delta t, and delta p2 vector is equal to f21 vector delta t. Students, this is very well known fact that impulse is equal to change in the momentum, which is equal to the force acting on the object times the time during which the force acts. So delta P1 vector is the change in the momentum of the first object, which is equal to the product of force acting on the first object by the second object time during which they collide with each other, that is delta T. Similarly, delta P2 vector is equal to the change in the momentum of the second object, which is also equal to the product of force acting on the second object by the first object times collision time period delta T. So we can say that where F12 vector is the force exerted on the first particle by the second particle, F21 vector is likewise the force exerted on the second particle by the first particle. From the Newton's third law of motion, these two forces are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So students, this implies that change in the momentum of the first particle plus change in the momentum of the second particle must be equal to 0, because F12 vector into delta T minus F12 vector into delta T gives you a null vector. Here what I have done, this F12 vector minus is replaced by is a replacement of F21 vector plus. So you can understand this is delta P1 vector, this is delta P2 vector, which is equal to a null vector. So net change in the momentum in the system made up of M1 and M2, which are colliding with each other, is 0, which simply means that the momentum remains constant throughout. Okay, student. The above conclusion is true even though the forces vary in a complex fashion during the collision time delta T. Suppose students, here we are not talking about the constant force. If the forces vary in a complex fashion during the collision time delta T, then also this discussion is true, because since the third law is true at every instant, that is total impulse on the first object is equal and opposite to that on the second object. That is why even though the force vary, simultaneously the force on the other object is also will vary. That is Newton's third law is valid. On the other hand, the total kinetic energy of the system is not necessarily conserved. This is the main point of difference between elastic collision and inelastic collision. Student, if total kinetic energy of the colliding bodies before the collision is equal to the total kinetic energy of the colliding body after the collision, then the collision is termed as elastic collision. If it is not so, then it is called inelastic collision. So the impact and the deformation during the collision may generate heat and sound. Why kinetic energy is not conserved? So they are giving us the reason: the impact and the deformation during the collision may generate heat and sound, so part of the initial kinetic energy is transformed into other forms of energy, as a result of which the total initial kinetic energy of the colliding body may not be equal to the total final kinetic energy of the colliding body. A usual way to visualize the deformation during the collision is in terms of a compressed spring. If the spring connecting the two masses, regains its original shape without loss in energy, then the initial kinetic energy is equal to the final kinetic energy, but the kinetic energy during the collision time delta T is not constant. Very important fact, student. Here it is written that if the spring connecting the two masses regain its original shape without the loss in energy, then and then only After the process of collision, the initial kinetic energy of the system may be equal to the final kinetic energy. But during the collision time interval, the kinetic energy may not conserved. Such a collision is called an elastic collision. On the other hand, the deformation may not be relieved and the two bodies could move together after the collision. A collision in which the two particles may move together jointly after the collision is called completely inelastic collision. So far students, we have classified the collision into two categories: elastic collision and inelastic collision. In both the collision, total energy and momentum are conserved. But as far as the main point of comparison is concerned, in the case of elastic collision, total kinetic energy before and after the collision is same of the colliding body, while it is not there in the case of inelastic collision. Okay. The intermediate case where the deformation is partly relieved and some of the initial kinetic energy is lost is more common, and it is approximately called an inelastic collision. So this is more generalized case in which the collision are neither completely elastic nor completely inelastic. It is inelastic collision, student. So we shall discuss now, student, the first case, that is collision in one dimension. That is, before the collision they are moving in one direction, and after the collision also they are moving in one direction. So obviously this theta 1 is 0, this theta 2 is 0, so there is no problem with the direction. Only unknown quantities are V1f and V2f. So if these unknown quantities, that is V1n and V2f, are obtained in terms of the known quantities like M1, V1, M1, M2 and V1i, because V2i is already 0, that is initial velocity of the second particle which is at rest is 0, then we can get our problem solved. That is two problems: the velocity or speed of the first particle after collision, that is V1f, and velocity or speed of the second particle after collision, that is V2f. Okay, student. So here it is written that consider first a completely inelastic collision in one dimension, that is theta 1 is 0, theta 2 is also 0, student. So as far as our knowledge is concerned, the momentum is a mass times velocity. So momentum of the first object is m1 v1i. Momentum of the second object is 0 because v2i is 0. Momentum after the collision is the sum of momentum of the first object and sum of momentum of the second object, and because they are moving jointly, student, that is why here I would like to convey the message: the final velocity of both the objects must be same. So initial momentum is m1 v1i must be equal to the final momentum because both the objects are moving jointly. That is why m1 vf plus m2 vf, so vf is considered as common. That is why it is m1 plus m2 vf. Let me repeat once again: because v1f is equal to v2f as far as completely inelastic collision has concerned. So we can say that initial momentum is m1 v1i must be equal to final momentum, which is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f, but v2f is equal to v1f. So now we can say that m1 plus m2 v1f or m1 plus m2 v2f both are same, student. That is why here it is written that m1 v1i is equal to m1 plus m2 vf. So vf is equal to, there is final velocity subjecting vf is equal to m1 upon m1 plus m2 into v1i. So this m1 plus m2 will be on the left hand side, it will be at the denominator. So we are getting this equation, that is v F, final velocity, is equal to m1 upon m1 plus m2 into v1I. Next concept is the loss in the kinetic energy on collision is delta K. Why there is a loss? So let us try to understand. The loss in the kinetic energy on collision is delta K, which is equal to, actually it is loss. So we should subtract final minus initial, so it will be negative. So we are subtracting initial minus final. So here m half m1 v1I square represents initial kinetic energy, because the final speed is equal to Vf and total mass is m1 plus m2. So half times m1 plus m2 times square of the final speed represents final kinetic energy. So initial kinetic energy minus final kinetic energy represents the delta K, which represents the loss in the kinetic energy, student. Okay, so here I would like to explain some mathematical steps to all of you, because all the steps are not given. So let me show you all the steps, student. Okay, students, so this was the step we were talking about. Here as you can see, delta K let me show you. Okay, delta K is equal to half m1 v1I square minus half m1 plus m2 vf square. Student, but vf is equal to m1 upon m1 plus m2 into v1I, we have just seen. So what I am doing is I am just substituting the value of vf square here. So as you can see, delta K is equal to half m1 v1I square minus half this m1 plus m2 as it is, and instead of this vf I am substituting the value, that is m1 upon m1 plus m2 the whole square into v1I the whole square. Okay, now you can see here everything, it will be clear. So as you can see here, this delta K is equal to half m1 v1I square minus half m1 plus m2 as it is. Instead of vf I have just substituted the value. So what will happen, m1 plus m2 will get cancelled, but still here, because m1 plus m2 square, so one power of m1 plus m2 still persists. So what will happen, half m1 v1I square as it is minus as it is half as it is, m1 into m1 is m1 square upon m1 plus m2 into v1I square. So this is the step. Now out of these two steps, half m1 v1I square is common, half m1 v1I square is common. So I am taking half m1 v1I square as common. So what will remain here, 1 minus m1 upon m1 plus m2 will remain. So this is the step I would like to explain. Here I have taken half m1 v1I square common within the bracket 1 minus m1 upon m1 plus m2. Now this m1 plus m2 is going to be LCM. So m1 plus m2 minus m1. So m1 cancels. So it will be equal to half m1 v1I square into m2 upon m1 plus m2, which is greater than 0, student. So this is what I want to convey the message. Delta K is equal to half m1 plus m2 upon m1 plus m2 into v1I square, which is positive quantity. So all the steps are given here. You can see I have given the simplification, and here it is written that it is half Final step, half m1 m2 upon m1 plus m2 v1I square, which is a positive quantity as expected. Okay students, so this is what we have discussed in the case of completely inelastic collision. The loss of kinetic energy we have obtained in terms of known quantities. m1 m2 is also known and v1I is also known. So we have not only calculated the final speed by making use of law of conservation of momentum. Final speed is going to be equal to m1 upon m1 plus m2 into vf, but also we have calculated the loss of kinetic energy. So this amount of energy will be increased in terms of internal energy or heat energy, student. Okay. Consider next an elastic collision. So now we are going to talk about elastic collision rather than inelastic collision. So if someone asks you that discuss the completely inelastic collision, then you have to discuss up to this equation. Now we are going to talk about completely elastic collision. Using the above nomenclature with theta 1 is equal to theta 2 is equal to 0, the momentum and kinetic energy conservation equations are. So I will explain separately first, and then we shall talk about once again in the textbook, student, because some steps are missing here. Okay students, according to the law of conservation of momentum, initial momentum is m1 v1I and final momentum is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f. This is what we have already discussed, because initially the object 2 is at rest, so its momentum is 0. So initially only the momentum is possessed by only first particle. Momentum is mass times speed. Direction is immaterial because it is in one dimension. So here I have written m1 v1I is the total initial momentum. According to the law of conservation of momentum, that must be equal to total final momentum, because after collision first object also has momentum, second object also has momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity, total is addition. So m1 v1I must be equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f, student. Or you can take this m1 v1f on the left hand side and take m1 common. So you will get m1 is equal to m1 times into bracket v1I minus v1f is equal to m2 v2f, equation number 1. So this is the outcome of law of conservation of momentum. So now we can exploit the condition of law of conservation of kinetic energy, because kinetic energy is also conserved. So we can say that according to the law of conservation of kinetic energy, here we can say that half m1 v1I square is equal to initial kinetic energy of the first object is half m1 v1I square must be equal to the total final kinetic energy. So this is the kinetic energy of the first object after collision. This is kinetic energy of the second object after the collision. Half m1 v1f square plus half m2 v2f square. Student, once again this half common and cancelled. Half common and cancel, and this v1f can be taken on the left hand side, so it is then m1 v1f square can be taken on the left hand side and taking m1 common, so m1 times v1I square minus v1f square is equal to m2 v2f square. Now a square minus b square is a minus b into a plus b, so v1 here we can take v1I square minus v1f square can be represented as v1I minus v1f into v1I plus v1f. So this step is resolved into two sub steps. Rest of the steps are as it is. This is equation number 2. Now what will happen, student? What we shall do, this equation number 2 is divided by equation number 1. So m1 cancels. Similarly v1I minus v1f will get cancelled. What will remain? v1I plus v1f will remain. Similarly here M2 V2F, M2 V2F will get cancelled, only V2F will remain. So you will get this equation, equation number 3, that is V2F is equal to V1I plus V1F. So here this is the final equation, V2F is equal to V1I plus V1F. Let me re-explain quickly. Here first of all, this is law of conservation of momentum, rearranging the terms, law of conservation of kinetic energy, rearranging the terms, dividing equation number 2 with equation number 1. So M1 M1 cancels, V1I minus V1F will cancels. What will remain? Only V1I plus V1F will remain. Similarly M2 M2 cancels, V2F square upon V2F is V2F only. So here you will get this equation, that is V2F is equal to V1I plus V1F. Now student, this value of V2F we are going to put in this equation here. V2F we will put here because V2F is equal to V1I plus V1F. So that value of V2F we can substitute here. So what will happen with the equation? This will remain as it is, but only M2 times into bracket V1I plus V1F. So this is what I have shown here. M1 V1I as it is, M1 V1F as it is, M2 times, this is V2F, this is V2F, that is V1I plus V1F. So now I am simplifying this bracket, M2 times V1I plus M2 times V1F. So this is what I have shown here. So what will happen? Right hand side will be equal to M1 V1F as it is, M2 V1I plus M2 V1F. So now out of these two terms, this M2 V1I can be taken on the left hand side, so it becomes minus, and V1I can be considered as common, and out of these two remaining terms, V1F can be considered as common. V1F can be considered as common. So it will be M1 plus M2. This is what I have shown here. You can see M1 V1I as it is. M1 V1I as it is. This term becomes negative, and out of these two remaining terms, V1F is common. So it will be M1 plus M2. Now students, out of this term, V1I is common. So it will be M1 minus M2 into V1I, and this M1 plus M2 can be taken on the left hand side, so it will be in the denominator part. So we are getting the unknown quantity in terms of known quantities, that is the velocity of the first object after collision is equal to M1 minus M2 upon M1 plus M2 into V1I. So this is what I have to say. This is equation number 4. In the textbook, simplification steps are not given. Now this value of V1F we can put here in equation number 3. So we will get V2F, as simple as it is. So from equation number 3 and 4, here in equation number 3, V2F is equal to V1I plus V1F. So we are just substituting the value of V1F here. So what will happen? V1I plus, this is the value of V1F, that is M1 minus M2 upon M1 plus M2 into V1I is equal to V2F. So out of these two, V1I is common, rest of the things are as it is, then M1 plus M2 is LCM. So you can see M2 M2 cancels, M1 plus M1 is 2M1. So finally your V2F is going to be equal to 2M1 V1I upon M1 plus M2. So once again, this is the velocity of the second object after collision, where you can see M1, M2 and V1I are known quantities. So unknown quantities is obtained in terms of the known quantities, student. So student, you can see all the steps they have tried to explain, and at the end of the day they have obtained V1F and V2F as explained. And here it is written that thus the unknowns, that is V1F and V2F, are obtained in terms of the knowns, that is M1, M2 and V1I. Special cases of our analysis are interesting. Student, now we shall talk about the special cases. If two masses are equal, then as you can see, if you will put here m1 is equal to m2, then this term reduces to 0. Then velocity of the first object after collision will be 0. And if you will here put here m1 is equal to m2, then 2m1 cancels. Then velocity of the second object after collision is equal to the velocity of the first object before collision. So if two objects of equal masses, one is at rest, another is moving, are experiencing elastic collision in one dimension, then after the collision they will exchange their velocities. So here it is written that v1f is 0 and v2f is equal to v1i. So the first mass comes to the rest. So the object which was at rest, now it will set into the motion, and the object which was in motion is now set into the rest and pushes off the second mass with its initial velocities, initial speed on collision. So this is the special case. Now second special case, if one mass dominates, for example m2 is very large as compared to m1. So during the collision, suppose the second object is heavier than the first object, then what happens after the collision in this case? Then the velocity of the first object after collision, is equal to negative of velocity of the first object before collision, and the velocity of the second object after collision still remains 0, because in this equation, student, what happens? You have to ignore m1 because m2 is very large as compared to m1. So m2 cancel. So v1f is equal to minus v1i. And because m2 is very large, so 1 upon very large tends to 0. So v2f is approximately 0. So this is what they have come to the conclusion that v1f is minus v1i and v2f is approximately 0. So heavier mass is undisturbed while the lighter mass reverses its velocity. So it rebounds back with the same velocity. So this is what I have to say regarding the elastic collision in completely one dimension, student. Okay.